Hi there, this is Love Johar. Thank you so much for tuning into this channel and thank you so much for watching this video. Today, as you can see, we will see all the controls in depth around ITGC. We will see how to implement these controls. We will see the details about these controls. We will have a great understanding about all these controls so that you have in-depth understanding about what are the best practices for implementing these controls, how are the ITGCs assessed, and things like that. Okay, so please make sure that you watch this video very carefully from the starting to the end so that you do not miss any part. So for anyone who is starting his journey in the ITGC space, this video will be very helpful, I can assure you that. So without any further ado, let's get started. So IT general controls, as the name suggests, are nothing but a set of policies, procedures and processes that ensure the integrity, confidentiality and availability of an organization's IT systems. If you are a little bit aware with the three fundamental pillars of information security, then you would understand it is very simple to elaborate that these ITGC controls are nothing but making sure that the confidentiality, integrity and availability of information is there. So it's trying to protect that, it's trying to protect the pillars of information security, it's trying to create some framework around that, using the help of policies, using the help of procedures, using the help of processes and things like that. So they are basically designed to protect the organization from a variety of risks. And how would you understand what are these risks and what do these risks entail? By doing risk assessment. We will discuss about that, how to implement ITGC in any organization. It is also there in this particular video. Along with that, you have to include access controls, you have to include measures for ensuring there is no data loss or any system failures in order to make sure that your CIA is intact. Then what are the different ITGC controls? First of all, we have to understand this. In order to understand about ITGC, you have to understand what are the different control categories in ITGC. Okay, I will give you a nutshell before going ahead in detail. You have physical and environmental security, you have logical security, you have backup and recovery, you have change management, very crucial, then you have incident management, then you have information security. These are the different domains of ITGC. Okay, so what do we understand by physical and environmental security? So physical and environmental security includes simply the controls that protect your physical infrastructure of your IT environment, such as your data center, your server rooms, your network devices, your communication devices, and things like that. So access control to your IT facilities plays a crucial role here. Your data center security, be it physical security or be it security using a personnel who is guarding the data center can be there, computer room security, data center security can be there, environmental controls, disaster recovery planning, all these come under part of physical and environmental security. I think it is pretty easy to understand how you can implement this. Now here comes the challenging part, because most of the people I think struggle with this part. That's why I have created this video, so that you can get a clear understanding of how you can implement this. You can implement this using access controls to your IT facilities. You can have some sort of access controls. For example, you can have biometric controls, you can have man traps, things like that, in order to make sure that you control the access to the IT facilities, to the data centers, to your computer rooms, to your network rooms. And you can install security cameras, you can install alarms, you can monitor the environmental conditions, such as temperature, such as humidity, because this is physical and environmental security. So you have to make sure that you take care of the environment. What environment? Your IT infrastructure environment. And then you develop a disaster recovery plan, because this is crucial in order to implement the ITGC control for physical and environmental security. Next, quickly coming on to logical security. And before I dive into logical security, one thing quickly I would like to add here is, if you have any questions, follow up questions on whatever I am discussing here, feel free to add in the comment sections of this video. I will try my best to answer you. Okay. And for logical security, this includes controls which protect the logical access to IT systems. Now, what do we mean by logical access? Logical access is different to physical access in terms of, making sure that how you log in, your user authentication, your passwords, your access controls, your password policies, all these come under logical security. It involves user authentication, your password management, and things like that. How you access your computer system and applications comes under logical security. Your data encryption, user account management, whether you are disabling the levers from your system or not, your security logs and monitoring also comes into play. Because if you're not monitoring, one thing that you will find in across most of the ITGC domains, which will be parallel, whether you are studying any one of them, is you have to make sure you are monitoring it. Because without monitoring, it does not make any sense. If you are not monitoring these parameters, these pillars of ITGC, there is no point. You can't ensure your implementation, whether your implementation is correct or not. So after that, how to implement logical security is very easy. You have to use strong passwords, you have to have a password policy, you have to have password management practices, you have to encrypt your data at rest and in transit, you have to make sure you have encryption, you have to monitor again you see, monitor security logs for any suspicious activity. So monitoring is a crucial aspect, as I already mentioned. Then you have backup and recovery. So what comes under backup and recovery? Under backup and recovery, this includes controls that ensure the data that can be restored in the event of any system failure or data loss. So what comes under backup and recovery is your data backup. Your organizational data backup is a crucial part. Your system backup, your restore procedures, your test procedures, whether you are testing the data that has been backed up or not, comes under data backup and recovery. And how to implement this is very easy. You back up your data regularly, you store your backups offsite to a location so that in case of a disaster, you do not lose anything. That's how it is implemented. And then you test the backups. Testing the backups is very important. You have to periodically test the backups to ensure that the data that you are backing up is there, it's intact, and you are not losing any information. That's why you have to make sure that you are testing the backups as well. Then you have change management. In change management, you have controls for making sure that changes to the IT systems or any infrastructure, or any applications for that matter, go through a proper change management process. You have change advisory boards, you have change committees, you have change meetings, where you manage the changes. You have to make sure you follow the change management process, as simple as that. And in order to do that, you have to make sure you follow proper approvals, you have proper documentation, you do prior testing for implementation of any changes. And for that matter, you have to have a configuration management into place as well, so that you can manage what configuration baselines do you have for your system. So that is crucial. And how you implement a configuration management system. First of all, you test changes before they are implemented into production. You should have a test environment, and then you get approval for all these changes from your change advisory board, whoever is making sure that the changes that are being implemented are tested thoroughly or not. And then most importantly, you document all the changes. One thing which I have seen in the past, happening in many organizations, people do not document the changes once the especially once the emergency changes are implemented. We have to make sure that we follow the proper procedures, especially for implementation of emergency changes as well, which is a crucial part. Because we do it in a rush in order to make sure that the business does not get impacted, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we log those changes as well. It is again a part of the process. So you have to make sure that you document all the changes. All means any type of change. Okay. Then you have incident management, again a crucial part of ITGC. Incident management ensures that you include all the controls for responding to and resolving any IT incidents. There could be any IT incidents, any IT security incidents. You could have security breaches. You could have system outages. You could have, any type of, situation. So, in order to avoid those situations of incidents, you need an incident response plan. You should have incident teams ready to know what is the plan of action in front of them. You should have escalation procedures, who to contact, communication mechanisms, communication planning, reporting. All this should already be in place as per ITGC. And how to implement, you, as I said, you have to develop an incident response plan. You have to train your employees on how to respond to incidents. You have to conduct some drills for security incidents. You have to make sure that you follow the process properly, because uh, to be completely honest, when incident happens, if the teams are not trained, they would not be able to manage the incident. So you have to make sure that you have teams who are pretty much serious with these incidents and know how to respond in case of any such situation. And then you have to make sure who should you communicate to, and how regularly you should communicate to, what are the periodicities, and who are the stakeholders involved, things like that. And then you have to keep on reporting on these incidents until they are sorted. Last but not the least, the important domain is information security. And information security domain for ITGC says that any practices, processes, or tools that you are using in order to protect your company's information assets, it is critical to implement them so that your information remains secure and protected. You have different types of processes that you involve here to make sure that there is no data theft, there is no data exfiltration, there is no data corruption, there is no accidental modification, as well as processes that protect you against cyber threats and techniques and strategies for dealing with unknown and especially zero day attacks. So how to implement again information security control is to make sure that you have proper access controls, you have proper encryption mechanisms in place, and you have proper backups. So all these mechanisms will help you to ensure the information security domain for ITGC. So these are all the domains that we have discussed for ITGC. Now coming on to the best practices for implementation for ITGC, because it is very important for you to understand what are the different best practices as well, because especially for the implementers who are doing this for the first time, it is crucial that you understand the implementation best practices. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you have to start with the risk assessment, because any organization should conduct a risk assessment to identify the specific risks that your IT system is facing. Then you have to find out the relevant controls, the information security controls for your organization specifically, so that you can tailor them as per your needs and your risk profile, depending upon your risk appetite. And if all these terms are sounding confusing to you, risk appetite, risk profile, risk assessment, make sure you watch my video on risk assessment made easy. It has been watched by thousands of people, and I assure you, once you watch that video, you will be pretty much clear with all the concepts of risk assessment, risk management, risk identification, and everything related to risk. Okay. Then after that, you implement the controls in a phased approach, and starting with the most critical controls, of course, depending upon again your risk profile. And then you monitor and review the controls. You have to make sure that you monitor and review the controls on a regular basis, so that they maintain their effectiveness, and maybe there are changes after some time that you might have to make. Now somebody would be thinking, who will come to assess these controls if we implement them? Is there some kind of monitoring? Is there some kind of audit? Yes, there is audit. There is self assessment that organizations conduct for their own ITGC controls. They have third party assessments that the organizations again conduct by hiring a third party auditor to assess their ITGC controls. You have internal audits also that you conduct within the organization using your own audit function, and to assess the again the ITGC controls that you have within the organization. Then you have the benefits of ITGCs. Let's say we have implemented ITGCs. So what have we got from it? What is the benefit of implementing ITGC? So you have, of course, enhanced security, because your assets are protected, your access controls are protected. There is a very little chance for data loss and little chance for system failures once you have these controls implemented. You have improved compliance. You have ITGCs that can help your organization comply with a variety of regulations. I can assure you that most of the regulations that you see here, including SOX, including HIPAA, including PCI DSS, have all the similar controls that we have already been discussed about. And the most important thing is you have reduced risk profile, because once you have jotted down your risks, it will help you to make sure that your risk profile is managed, so that you do not incur any type of financial loss, reputational damage, or things like that. Okay, then you have improved efficiency. ITGCs can help you to improve the efficiency of your organization by reducing the number of security incidents, as we already discussed. The security incidents are reduced if you follow the best practices, if you follow this ITGC approach. So this is very important. I think this video will make sense a lot of, especially for beginners who are trying to implement ITGC for the first time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye.